Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy.
Bridget and I were together for just over 3 years. We met through mutual friends at a baseball game back in August 2020. She was wearing this bright yellow jersey, drinking an overpriced stadium beer, laughing at something one of her friends had said. I was there with my buddy Brian, who does construction work. We ended up sitting in the same section and started talking during the seventh inning stretch. She was funny, self-deprecating, genuine, not putting on any kind of show, just being herself. Those first couple years were really solid. We'd grab dinner at casual spots around town, nothing fancy. She'd come over to my place and we'd watch movies on my couch, order pizza, talk until 2 in the morning about everything and nothing. Simple dates, real laughter, comfortable routine that didn't feel forced. She'd come to my bowling league sometimes on Thursday nights, cheer when I actually managed to get a strike, give me endless amounts of crap when I threw gutter balls. I'd meet up with her work colleagues for happy hour drinks, listen to her talk about the PR campaigns she was working on at her firm. Just normal relationship stuff. The kind that feels easy instead of like work. For context, I'm an HVAC technician. I make decent money, enough to live comfortably. I own my Silverado truck outright, bowl on Thursday nights, catch baseball games on weekends when I can. Pretty straightforward life, but I'm genuinely happy with it. Got my own place, pay all my bills on time, help my parents out when they need something. Nothing glamorous or Instagram worthy, but it's stable and it's mine. Around the 2.5-year mark, February of 2023, something started to shift. Bridget got promoted at the PR firm where she worked. New title, new responsibilities, whole new group of people she started spending time with. That's when the comments started creeping in. Small ones at first, easy to brush off. My truck was looking kind of dated. Didn't I think it was maybe time for something newer? Perhaps I should think bigger about my career trajectory, consider moving into commercial HVAC work, or even starting my own company someday. Her colleague just bought a condo in the downtown area. Wasn't that pretty impressive for someone our age? Another person from her office had started their own consulting firm and was already pulling in 6 figures annually. I let it slide at first. Figured it was just stress from the new position. New responsibilities always bring some pressure along with them. What I didn't realize at the time was that she was comparing our entire life together to the carefully curated highlight reels she was seeing on social media. Everyone's best moments, nobody's actual reality. The last year together got progressively worse in ways that were hard to pinpoint but impossible to ignore. She stopped coming to my Thursday bowling league nights, started calling it towny stuff, said it really wasn't her scene anymore. Began spending way more time on Instagram, constantly curating stories about trendy brunch spots and professional networking events. Her phone became this permanent presence between us. She'd be scrolling through it at the movie theater during the previews, checking notifications constantly during dinner, lying in bed on it until well past midnight, double tapping photos and leaving comments on posts from people I'd never even heard her mention before. Whenever I'd ask what was wrong or if something was bothering her, she'd snap at me. Said I was being paranoid, that I didn't trust her, that I was acting insecure for no reason. The arguments started getting more and more frequent, over smaller and smaller things. I'd suggest staying in for the night and cooking dinner together at home. She'd accuse me of never wanting to go anywhere or do anything. I'd mention looking into a new HVAC certification program I was considering. She'd say it wasn't ambitious enough, that I should want more. Nothing I did seemed to be right anymore, no matter how hard I tried. 3 weeks before that Friday dinner, things intensified in a way that felt different from before. She went distant, but it was a specific kind of distant. Always texting someone, always carefully guarding her phone screen. She'd physically angle her phone away from me whenever I walked into the room, started taking phone calls either in the bathroom with the door locked or out in her car. When I finally asked her directly if something was going on, if maybe she was seeing someone else, she absolutely lost it on me, accused me of being controlling, of not trusting her, of trying to monitor her every single move, like some kind of stalker. Then suddenly, completely out of nowhere, she insisted we absolutely needed to go to Meridian for dinner that Friday, this super upscale restaurant in the downtown area. The kind of place with actual cloth napkins and extensive wine pairings and servers who describe each individual dish like They're presenting a work of fine art. Expensive as hell, easily a week's worth of groceries for what one meal costs there. Definitely not my usual scene at all. She said it was critically important, that we desperately needed to reconnect, that this dinner would somehow help us get back on track with our relationship. I didn't particularly want to go, but I agreed to it anyway. I still wanted to fix whatever was breaking down between us. Wanted to believe that maybe one really nice dinner could somehow bridge the growing gap that had opened up over the past year. So that Friday evening, I drove my Silverado downtown to the restaurant. The valet parking attendant looked at my truck the exact way you'd look at something that clearly didn't belong in this setting. Handed me the ticket without even making eye contact, like he was doing me some kind of favor. I felt completely out of place immediately. Meridian is all carefully arranged dim lighting, tiny portions on huge white plates that cost $30 each, wine lists that are legitimately longer than most repair manuals I've read. The kind of establishment where the entrees alone cost what I make in half a day's work. Soft piano music playing in the background. People wearing expensive suits and designer dresses having conversations about things that sounded incredibly important, but actually meant absolutely nothing to someone like me. Bridget had arrived early and somehow secured us a table positioned right smack in the center of the main dining room. Not somewhere private, not tucked away discreetly in some corner, right where absolutely everyone in the restaurant could clearly see us. I should have realized right then that something was seriously wrong. She looked different than usual, wearing this new black dress I'd definitely never seen before, fitted and clearly expensive. Full professional makeup, hairstyled like she'd spent hours on it, more effort than she'd put into any of our normal casual dates in months. Hair done up elaborately, jewelry that kept catching and reflecting the light every time she moved. She smiled when she saw me, but it absolutely wasn't her real, genuine smile. It was the one she exclusively used for Instagram photos, the practiced one, where her eyes didn't quite match what her mouth was doing. Rehearsed, empty, absolutely perfect for the camera. I ordered a beer from the tap. She ordered some specific wine. We made awkward small talk about how her day went, about how mine went, completely surface-level conversation that honestly felt like we were total strangers meeting for the first time. Then I happened to notice them sitting there. Katie, her old college roommate, and Morgan, one of her friends from the PR firm, sitting maybe 15 feet away at a table that had an absolutely perfect, unobstructed view of ours. They both waved enthusiastically across the restaurant, called out loudly about what an absolutely amazing coincidence this was. Oh my God, what are the actual odds that we'd all just happen to be at the same restaurant at the exact same time, right? Yeah, some coincidence in a city with literally hundreds of different restaurants to choose from. I looked at their table more carefully and noticed the setup. Both of their phones were positioned just so on the table, not casually face down, not tucked away in their purses, sitting completely upright on the white tablecloth, carefully angled directly toward us. I could see the recording apps clearly visible on both screens, those little red dots actively indicating that they were currently recording. They were filming this entire thing, all of it, recording every single word we said and every gesture we made, every moment of whatever was about to happen here. Dinner itself started normally enough on the surface. We placed our orders with the waiter. She got the pan-seared salmon with some kind of fancy reduction sauce I couldn't even begin to pronounce correctly. I went with the pasta dish mainly because it was the single least expensive item on the entire menu that wouldn't make me look obviously cheap. The waiter carefully poured ice water into crystal glasses, brought fresh bread to the table with herb butter. Everything seemed to be moving in this weird slow motion. She started talking about work, about how she'd been doing a lot of thinking lately about her future. Not our future together, specifically her future, her personal goals, her individual career trajectory. The words coming out of her mouth sounded oddly rehearsed, like she'd carefully written them all down beforehand and memorized them word for word. She kept glancing over toward Katie and Morgan's table repeatedly, clearly checking to make absolutely sure they were properly getting all of this on camera. Then came the actual speech itself. You could immediately tell she'd practiced this extensively, probably standing in front of her bathroom mirror at home, recording herself repeatedly on her phone until she got the exact tone and delivery she wanted. The pauses in her speech came at very specific, calculated moments. Every single hand gesture was clearly deliberate and planned. This absolutely wasn't some spontaneous emotional moment. This was a complete performance, staged and rehearsed. She talked at length about ambition, about drive, about personal growth, about desperately needing to be with someone who truly inspired her to reach higher, to want more from life, to push boundaries and break through limitations. One of her colleagues had very recently started their own consulting firm and already had 3 major clients signed. Another coworker had just purchased a condo in the trendy downtown district, was already talking seriously about buying investment properties as a next step. These were people who were actively going somewhere with their lives, people who absolutely refused to settle for merely comfortable, people who genuinely wanted more out of life than simply just getting by day to day. The underlying implication was absolutely crystal clear, even though she never actually said it directly out loud. I was far too comfortable with exactly where I was in life. I was perfectly content with my HVAC work, with my aging Silverado truck, with bowling league on Thursday nights and baseball games on the weekends. I wasn't nearly ambitious enough for her new standards. I wasn't sufficiently driven. I was actively holding her back from becoming the person she believed she was truly meant to be. She said she genuinely cared about me, would probably always care about me on some level, but she just didn't see any kind of future for us anymore. That I was honestly a great guy, just categorically not the right guy for her specifically. That she really needed someone who properly matched her energy level, who actively pushed her to be better, who fully understood and supported her vision for her life going forward. I carefully put my fork down mid-bite, set it gently on the expensive plate, slowly wiped my mouth with the cloth napkin. The entire restaurant seemed to completely fade away around me. All I could hear clearly was my own breathing, my own heartbeat pounding. I made direct eye contact with her, held it steadily, paused for maybe 2 seconds that somehow felt more like 20. Then I simply said, "Good luck to you." Just 3 words. That's genuinely all it took to derail everything. Her entire carefully prepared script clearly hadn't accounted for that specific response. She'd obviously expected me to beg her not to do this, to argue and fight back, to make a huge dramatic scene, to cry or desperately plead with her, or demand that we find some way to work this out together, to give her the exact dramatic reaction she absolutely needed for her video, for her curated story, for all her Instagram followers to see and validate. I stood up slowly and calmly, pulled my worn leather wallet from my back pocket, took out 2 $20 bills, more than enough to completely cover my half of the bill, plus my portion of the tip for our server. Dropped them on the white tablecloth right next to my half-eaten pasta dish. Then I just started walking toward the exit. Didn't say another single word to her. Didn't look back over my shoulder. Didn't acknowledge Katie and Morgan, still sitting there with their phones actively recording. Just walked steadily, one foot deliberately in front of the other. Past all the other well-dressed diners who had stopped their own private conversations to openly watch this unfold. Past the restaurant servers who stood completely frozen in place, still holding their expensive plates. Past the host stand positioned near the main entrance. The entire restaurant went eerily quiet. You could hear the soft piano music incredibly clearly now because absolutely nobody was talking anymore. Forks had stopped hitting plates. It felt like someone had physically hit pause on the entire scene. Behind me, I heard her voice crack noticeably. "Wait," she said, voice breaking. "Wait, please." But I just kept walking forward without breaking stride. Heard her chair scrape loudly against the polished floor. She was getting up, starting to follow me. Katie and Morgan looked genuinely confused, like they weren't entirely sure if they'd actually gotten the footage they wanted, if this was somehow still part of the original plan, or if something had gone seriously wrong with the whole setup. I pushed firmly through the heavy restaurant doors and stepped outside into the night air. Handed my crumpled ticket to the valet attendant standing there, just stood waiting patiently for my truck. The cold October air felt absolutely amazing after the oppressive stuffiness of the restaurant interior. I could actually breathe properly again. Maybe a minute later, I heard the sharp clicking sound of heels moving fast on the pavement behind me. Bridget came practically running out through the restaurant doors, moving as quickly as she could manage. Those high heels, that expensive fitted dress, under the harsh parking lot security lights, she looked genuinely different, noticeably smaller somehow. All that manufactured confidence and from inside the restaurant had completely evaporated into nothing. She caught up to me just as the valet brought my Silverado around to the front. Engine already running, headlights cutting through the darkness. My escape route, sitting right there in front of me. Her voice cracked badly as she finally reached me. All that carefully rehearsed confidence from the dinner table had entirely disappeared. This was something different now. Raw panic, obviously mixed with complete disbelief. Her mascara was already visibly smudging around her eyes. She'd been genuinely crying, producing real, actual tears this time, instead of the performative kind. "Wait," she said desperately. "Just wait a second. You're not even going to fight for this, for us?" I looked at her clearly and directly. "You literally just ended it in there. I'm simply respecting your choice." She physically stepped directly in front of my driver's side door, actively blocking my path to the truck, put her hand firmly on the door handle like she could somehow physically prevent me from leaving if she tried hard enough. "You're just throwing away 3 entire years together like this, like it means absolutely nothing to you." "I'm not throwing anything away here. You already did that inside the restaurant. I'm just accepting the reality of the situation." Her face visibly twisted, shifting to anger now, those tears rapidly turning into something else entirely. "You know what? This is exactly precisely why we don't work together. You don't actually care. You never cared enough to genuinely fight for anything. You just immediately give up on everything. You're a complete quitter." I looked past her deliberately. Katie and Morgan had followed us outside, currently standing awkwardly by the restaurant entrance, approximately 30 feet away, actively watching this entire confrontation unfold in real time, still holding their phones up, almost certainly still recording everything, probably getting significantly more footage than they'd originally planned on capturing tonight. This absolutely wasn't following her carefully prepared script at all anymore. "I'm completely done with this conversation," I stated clearly. "Of course you are, because that's exactly what you always do. You just run away from anything difficult." "I didn't run away from anything here. You deliberately set this entire thing up from the beginning. Specifically picked this expensive restaurant, intentionally brought your friends along, had them film the whole thing. This isn't actually about me being some quitter. This is entirely about you wanting to create a show for social media. And I'm absolutely not performing for you or your cameras." I moved past her firmly, but not roughly, got into my truck and closed the door. She just stood there, completely frozen in obvious shock as I secured the door. Through the windshield, I could see her face clearly, total and complete shock written all over it. This categorically wasn't how any of this was supposed to go, according to her plan. I carefully backed out of the parking space, thoroughly checked all my mirrors like always, pulled away smoothly. In my rearview mirror, I watched her still standing there alone, in the middle of the parking lot, arms wrapped tightly around herself, while Katie and Morgan slowly approached her from the restaurant entrance. All their excited energy from inside the restaurant earlier was absolutely nowhere to be found now. I drove home through familiar streets that somehow felt completely different, noticeably lighter. The streetlights looked brighter and clearer. The radio sounded better than usual. I parked in my driveway, walked into my house, grabbed an ice-cold beer from the fridge, cracked it open, turned on the game that was playing. Bottom of the 5th inning, tied 2-2. I sat down on my comfortable couch, drank my beer slowly, and felt nothing except pure relief. Like I'd somehow just dodged something way worse than just a standard breakup, way worse than regular heartache. I'd successfully dodged being reduced to someone's content, someone's designated villain, in an elaborate story she wanted to tell online for likes and comments and shares from strangers. My phone started buzzing insistently about 15 minutes later. Text messages from her number, phone calls, one right after another in rapid succession. I didn't read any of the texts, didn't answer any of the calls, just let them all pile up unanswered. Right before bed, I blocked her number entirely. Went to sleep easier and more peacefully than I genuinely had in months. Saturday morning arrived quiet and peaceful. My phone rang at 10 from an unknown number I didn't recognize. I let it go straight to voicemail, didn't even bother listening to whatever message she left. Spent the entire day productively cleaning my house thoroughly, doing accumulated laundry, finally fixing that annoying leaky faucet I'd been putting off for weeks. Normal weekend maintenance stuff. Sunday afternoon brought another call from yet another different unknown number. Let it ring out completely. Immediately blocked that number too. I recognized the obvious pattern developing. She was systematically using her friends' phones to try reaching me. Monday morning, 6:45 a.m., I was already dressed for work, coffee mug in hand, just about to walk out to my truck and head to the job site. Saw an unfamiliar car parked in my driveway that definitely wasn't mine. Bridget got out looking completely and totally different from Friday night at the restaurant. Zero makeup on her face, old faded sweatpants, hair just thrown up messily in a basic bun. Dark circles prominently visible under both eyes like she genuinely hadn't slept at all. She looked absolutely rough. "We really need to talk about this." "No, we actually don't." I kept walking steadily toward my truck without stopping. "Please, I made a terrible mistake." I stopped walking, turned around to face her directly, carefully set my coffee mug on the hood of my Silverado. "You didn't make a mistake. You deliberately planned that entire thing out. The specific restaurant, the cameras, your friends conveniently being there. How long did you actually work on planning it? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? A whole month?" She looked down at her feet. Absolutely wouldn't meet my eyes directly. "That's exactly what I thought. You specifically wanted to humiliate me publicly. Make yourself look good and empowered on camera so you could post it all online and get validation from complete strangers on the internet. Except it didn't go the way you'd carefully scripted it in your head. I didn't give you the dramatic reaction you needed for your content." Real genuine tears started rolling down her face. "I was so stupid. I listened to completely the wrong people. Katie and Morgan both said it would be empowering for me, that I deserved better, that I should make some kind of statement. I genuinely don't care what your friends said to you. You're a grown adult woman. You made a conscious choice. You specifically chose to embarrass me in public. You chose to film it all. You chose every single part of it. Can't we just talk about this properly? Get coffee somewhere or something? There's absolutely nothing left to talk about." I grabbed my coffee mug back, got in my truck, started the engine, backed out of my driveway while she just stood there, watching helplessly. Left her standing alone in front of my house as the sun came up. That night, my buddy Brian called me up. We'd been close friends since high school. He works construction, built like an actual linebacker. One of those guys who somehow knows everyone in town. He sounded noticeably uncomfortable on the phone. "Hey man, so I heard something at the gym today about you and Bridget." "What exactly did you hear?" He hesitated noticeably. "Apparently someone there knows her cousin pretty well. The whole restaurant thing was planned out over an entire month. She picked that specific place, thoroughly briefed Katie and Morgan on exactly what to film, had this whole elaborate vision for how it would go viral online. She'd dump you dramatically, you'd make a huge scene, she'd look strong and independent, and boom! Thousands of likes, supportive comments about her brave decision, classic social media manipulation. I sat with that information for a long moment, an entire month. She'd spent a whole month carefully planning to publicly humiliate me. "The thing is," Brian continued, "you completely ruined her plan by just calmly leaving, by not giving any reaction. Now, people are asking uncomfortable questions like, why would someone plan out a public breakup? What kind of person does something like that?" Her friends are getting heat too. People commenting on their Instagram asking why they were filming someone getting dumped. The narrative she'd wanted to control was rapidly slipping away, and it had absolutely nothing to do with me. I didn't have to defend myself publicly. The truth was doing that entirely on its own. I decided right then to focus exclusively on myself instead of dwelling on what she'd done. Called my buddy from bowling league the very next day, asked if that standing Thursday night spot was still available for me. He laughed, said, "Welcome back." Started going to this dive bar called The Lantern on Friday nights. Southside place with wood paneling covering the walls, neon beer signs, pool tables in the back, local beer on tap, $2 specials. Live bands on weekends playing in a corner that barely qualifies as an actual stage. The exact kind of place Bridget had always hated. Too loud, she'd always say. Too crowded with people. Too many working class people. Not her scene at all. Not nearly sophisticated enough for her carefully curated Instagram aesthetic. That second Friday after the breakup, I went there alone. Grabbed an open spot at the bar, ordered a local beer. Amber Lager from a local brewery. A band was setting up equipment on the small stage. 3 guys with guitars and a basic drum kit doing sound checks. The woman sitting next to me at the bar smiled, commented on the music. "They play here every other Friday," she said. "Pretty good for a local group." Simple, straightforward conversation. Nothing loaded with meaning, nothing complicated. Just two people talking about music. Her name was Amy. She taught third grade at a public elementary school on the east side. Had been coming here every Friday for the past year, ever since she moved back to town. We talked for maybe half an hour about music preferences, about living in this city, about baseball playoff chances. Nothing particularly deep, nothing emotionally heavy, just genuinely authentic conversation between two normal people who happened to be sitting next to each other at a bar. When I left around 11, I felt lighter than I had in literal months. Didn't get her number, didn't even try to. Just enjoyed a normal Friday night without the crushing weight of someone else's expectations. The stalking behavior started the following week. Tuesday morning, I stopped at my usual Dunkin' location, the one I hit every single morning before heading to job sites. 6:30 in the morning, barely awake, just wanting coffee. Walked in and there she was. Bridget sitting in the corner booth, laptop open in front of her, coffee cup sitting there. She looked up when I walked in. Her face arranged itself into obvious surprise, like she just happened to be there. Like this wasn't the location on the complete opposite side of town from where she actually lived. Like she hadn't remembered me mentioning coming to this exact location every single morning for 3 straight years. "Oh, hey, what are you doing here?" "Getting coffee, same as you." I didn't engage beyond that simple response. Walked to the counter, ordered my usual large black coffee, paid, walked out. Didn't sit down, didn't make conversation, just got what I came for and left immediately. Through the window, I saw her watching me go, phone already in her hand. Thursday evening, around 6, I stopped at the grocery store to grab food for the week. Walking down the produce aisle, grabbing apples, and there she was again. Bridget holding a basket with maybe 3 items in it, examining tomatoes like she was selecting precious gemstones. Our eyes met directly. She smiled at me. "Hey, funny running into you here." "Yeah, funny." I moved immediately to the next aisle, grabbed bread. She appeared again at the other end, looking at pasta. This happened twice in the same shopping trip. I completed my shopping without saying another word. Checked out. Left. Wednesday of the 3rd week, I was at a commercial job site out in the suburbs. Big office building and getting a complete HVAC system overhaul. I was up on the roof checking compressor units when Tom, my supervisor, came up the access ladder. "Hey, Owen, is everything okay?" "Yeah, why?" "There's someone at the perimeter fence. Woman. Been standing there about 20 minutes just watching the building." I walked to the edge of the roof, looked down. Bridget was standing outside the chain-link fence, looking up at the building. When she saw me seeing her, she actually waved. Actually waved like this was somehow normal behavior. Tom looked at me seriously. "Friend of yours? Ex who can't take a hint." Tom's expression hardened immediately. He was maybe 47, had 2 daughters, didn't have any patience for this kind of thing. He went down the ladder, made a phone call. 5 minutes later, building security walked over to the fence, had a conversation with Bridget. She gestured toward the building, toward me specifically. Security shook their heads firmly. She stood there arguing for another minute, then finally left, got in her car, and drove away. Tom came back up, told security if she comes back, they're calling the police for trespassing. "You need any time off or anything?" "No, I'm good, thanks though." That finally stopped the physical appearances. No more showing up places, no more coincidental encounters. She'd pushed it too far, and even she knew it. Amy was at the Lantern that 3rd Friday, sitting at the same spot at the bar where we'd talked before. She smiled when she saw me, genuinely happy to see a familiar face. We talked longer this time. She told me about her week teaching 8-year-olds, about the kid who brought his pet turtle for show and tell, about parent-teacher conferences that ran 4 hours late. I told her about commercial HVAC systems, about fixing a compressor on a 90-degree roof, about Tom and the crew I worked with. Normal conversation between normal people with normal jobs living normal lives. We exchanged numbers before I left that night. No game playing, no waiting 3 days to text. Just straightforward. "I'd like to see you again." "Me too." That same week, Wednesday afternoon, we met for coffee at the shop on the lakefront, windows looking out at the water. We sat for 2 hours, talked about growing up here, about our families, about teaching and HVAC work and what we wanted out of life. She mentioned her last relationship, how the guy made good money in sales but couldn't handle that she made slightly more as a teacher. How he'd make little comments about how she must think she was better than him, about how she was too independent, about how she emasculated him by paying for things. "That sounds exhausting," I said. It was. People get insecure about the weirdest things. They take it out on the wrong person instead of dealing with their own stuff. The comparison to Bridget was obvious, but neither of us said it out loud. We didn't need to. By the fourth week after the dinner, Bridget launched her next move. My old friend Chris texted me on a Sunday afternoon. We'd known each other since college, stayed in touch over the years. Good guy, straightforward. His text was simple. Hey man, what's going on with you and Bridget? Can you call me? I called him immediately. What do you mean? He sounded uncomfortable. Your ex is telling people some wild stuff, saying you were controlling during the relationship, that you isolated her from her friends, that you got aggressive when she tried to leave. I've heard it from at least 3 different people this weekend. Figured you should know. My stomach dropped. She's saying what? Yeah, heard it through Laura, who heard it from Morgan. Then Tom mentioned it at the gym. Then I saw something vague on Facebook from someone else. It's making the rounds. Thought you should be aware. I hung up, feeling sick. Controlling, aggressive, isolating, words specifically designed to make people question everything about me. By Tuesday, 3 more mutual friends reached out, all with variations of the same question. What really happened? Is what she's saying true? Did you actually do those things? Bridget was painting herself as the sufferer of an abusive relationship, saying I'd manipulated her for years, that I'd made her doubt herself, made her feel small, made her afraid, that the restaurant was her finally escaping, that she was scared of how I'd react, that my calmness wasn't dignity. It was calculated emotional misuse. The silent treatment, the cold shoulder, all signs of controlling behavior, apparently. Complete fiction, all of it. But the thing about lies is they spread faster than truth. And some people, even good people, will wonder. Will think maybe there's some truth to it. Where there's smoke, right? I made a choice. I wasn't going to defend myself publicly, wasn't going to make counterposts or statements. Defending myself would give her exactly what she wanted. Attention, engagement, proof that she still mattered to me. The best response was no response. Amy asked me about it that Friday at the Lantern. How are you holding up? Been better. People are talking. Yeah, I know. For what it's worth, I don't believe any of it. Why not? You barely know me. She shrugged. Because if you were actually like that, I'd have seen signs by now. Controlling guys don't give people space. They don't stay calm during confrontations. They don't just walk away. They escalate. You've done the opposite of all that. Made sense when she put it that way. The tide started turning about a week later. Someone had saved the original restaurant video before Bridget deleted it, posted it to our city's subreddit with context. Woman plans public breakup for Instagram, doesn't go as planned. The comments were brutal. People calling her manipulative, calling her a performer. Some recognized Katie and Morgan from the video and started questioning their involvement. Katie and Morgan went private on social media. Morgan posted a vague apology about participating in something she regretted, started untagging herself from photos with Bridget. Bridget tried doubling down, made a long Instagram post about how people didn't understand the full story, how the restaurant was her finally standing up for herself after years of subtle control. The post got maybe 14 likes, mostly from people who didn't know either of us. She disabled comments within an hour. Mutual friends who'd initially believed her started asking for proof, screenshots, anything concrete. She had nothing because nothing happened. Week 7, Thursday evening, Katie called me. Actual phone call, not a text. She's falling apart. Won't leave her apartment, only talks to me. I'm worried about her. I'm sorry she's going through that, but it's not my responsibility. I know. I just needed to tell someone. Why? What do you want me to do? Silence on the other end. Then nothing, I guess. We hung up. Week 10, Sunday evening, I was home watching the game. Close game, 4th quarter. Doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Bridget standing on my porch, alone, looking like she hadn't slept in days. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. I need to talk to you. There's nothing to talk about. Please, just hear me out. I sighed. You've got 2 minutes. She took a shaky breath. I messed up everything. The restaurant, the lies, all of it. I was hurt and angry and I wanted you to feel what I was feeling. But it backfired and now everyone hates me and I don't know what to do. That's not my problem. I know it's not, but I need you to know I'm sorry. Genuinely sorry. I wish I could take it all back. You can't. I know. We stood there, her waiting for something, me having nothing left to give. Is there any chance? No. You didn't even let me finish. I don't need to. The answer is no. No second chance, no forgiveness, no staying friends, just no. Her face crumpled. I loved you. You loved controlling me. There's a difference. That's not fair. You humiliated me on purpose, tried to ruin my reputation when I moved on. Fair doesn't exist here anymore. She stood there a few more seconds, then nodded, turned, walked to her car, drove off. I closed the door, went back to the couch. Game was tied, going to overtime. My phone buzzed. Text from Amy about lunch tomorrow. I smiled, typed back confirming. Game came back on. They kicked a field goal, won by 3. Life moved on, with or without Bridget's permission. 5 months later, life looked completely different. I got promoted at work, lead technician on major commercial contracts. Better pay, better hours. Actual respect from the crew. The kind of advancement Bridget used to say I'd never get because I lacked ambition. Amy and I made it official. No games, no tests, just 2 people who enjoyed being together. We went to baseball games, or grabbed dinner at random places, spent weekends doing absolutely nothing special, and it was perfect. Bridget became a ghost. No more showing up, no more texts from unknown numbers, just silence. The way it should have been from the start. Then one Saturday afternoon in mid-September, I saw her. Pure coincidence. Amy and I were at this outdoor shopping area. Live band playing, food trucks, couple hundred people walking around. Bridget was there alone, standing by a taco truck, scrolling on her phone. She looked smaller somehow, like the confidence she used to carry had evaporated. She glanced up. Our eyes met for half a second. She opened her mouth like she might say something, then closed it, looked back down at her phone. I kept walking. Amy beside me didn't even notice. We grabbed tacos from a different truck, listened to the band playing old rock covers, laughed at some kid dancing terribly near the stage. Normal Saturday stuff. I didn't think about Bridget again that day. Not when we got home, not when we watched a movie that night, not at all. Because here's what I learned. Walking away from that restaurant wasn't just about ending a relationship. It was about refusing to participate in someone else's manipulation, refusing to be the villain in a story designed to make her the hero. She wanted a reaction, wanted me to beg, to chase, to prove I cared. Instead, I showed her something more powerful. Indifference. Not the fake kind, not the petty kind. The real kind that comes when you genuinely stop caring about someone's validation. Bridget spent months trying to rewrite history, trying to make herself the sufferer, trying to get people on her side. But the truth doesn't change just because you want it to, and eventually everyone saw through it. Did she learn anything? I don't know. Don't really care. That's her journey now, not mine. I'm with someone who doesn't need me to be more than I am, who doesn't test me or play games or orchestrate drama for social media. Someone real. That night at the restaurant, when I stood up and said, "Good luck to you," I didn't realize I was also saying it to myself. Good luck moving forward. Good luck finding something genuine. Good luck leaving behind someone who never appreciated what you were. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just living well, building something real, and never looking back.